Obi-Wan is probably the only example of bringing a knife to a gunfight actually being successful, and this is because as much as Mace Windu claims they are keepers of the peace, there tends to be a surprising amount of limbs missing wherever the Jedi go. So let's shove as many of these characters as possible into a rating system to see the most skilled in lightsaber and force combat, including Ahsoka, who will be put a spot higher in honor of the new show.
That's why I'm here.
Also, I won't be including the nameless characters like Jedi Bob, unfortunately, but we all know he'd be a 10 anyway. Starting out with the best of the best, we have Coleman Trebor. Okay, I might have spoken too soon about him being the best because level 1 is actually the worst, but then it gets better as we go up. But Coleman was the only Verk Jedi of the era that was 7 feet tall, preferred peaceful solutions, and was based off of the Parasaurolophus fossils behind the scenes. In Attack of the Clones, he tries to take out Dooku, but little does he know that only Jedi with plot armor are actually allowed to take on the main Sith, so instead he gets murdered immediately. And this guy has become somewhat of a meme. At least he did try to take out Dooku, whereas a lot of the other Jedi would probably be too scared to even try in the first place. Next up at level 2, we have Nadar Veb, and in case you forgot, this is Kit Fisto's arrogant former apprentice from the Clone Wars that was so blinded by pride and anger he tried to take on Grievous alone and ended up being shot through the torso. So he's not even that terrible of a fighter, at least not bad enough to be at 2, it's just that he completely disregards the teachings of the Jedi, leaving him easy to defeat. And this is kind of sad because Kit Fisto is my favorite Jedi, so I would assume this probably isn't his teaching. I believe they actually got split up before he could finish his trials due to the Clone Wars, and that's probably why he was so arrogant here. As we move into 3, you'll have to understand that like with the Inquisitor's video, these PLs or power levels are not generally applying to all of Star Wars characters, it's only relative to these characters. So like even though I gave the Grand Inquisitor a 10 on the last one, he probably would have been like a 5 here, but with that said, at 3, I've got Shaak Ti and Jocasta Nu for different reasons, and my big problem with Shaak Ti is that for one, we never really see her accomplish anything significant in battle, but also she dies like 5 different times throughout Revenge of the Sith. As for Jocasta, she might have been powerful once, but now she's just an old librarian that occasionally can use her lightsaber and is killed by Vader in a really good comic book. And I'm sorry to say that being sassy and a know-it-all to the slightly less sassy know-it-all isn't going to give you more points on the bracket. Also, I never liked the library that much anyway, so yeah, bye. With 4, we have some other characters as well, like Yaddle and Adi Gallia, so these guys did get much more significant roles after the prequels where they serve as background characters, which definitely helps me out here to decide where they go. Some facts about them are that Yaddle was born in 509 BBY, making them almost half a millennium old, and also they could use Moritro, aka the Touch of Death, which was a way to basically make someone's body stop working. It was a special force power. Adi Gallia, on the other hand, was a skilled starfighter pilot and had fought and survived General Grievous 2 times during the Clone Wars. Also, she was on the council like Yaddle, which is pretty significant. And Yaddle is at 4 because she managed to fight off a undetermined Dooku briefly, but was also crushed by a door.
How embarrassing. How embarrassing.
Also, Adi Gallia was killed in a fight with Savage Opress where he headbutted her to death and then stabbed down with his red lightsaber too. Now next up for Rey, I honestly get tired of the whole bandwagon opinion of putting her at 1, so that's why instead I'm going to put her at -1. No, just kidding, but I don't think the DBBH team, me, has enough time to add more areas to the rating system, but if I was to give her 1, I'd say 4, because she holds relatively well against the sequel villains, which is just Kylo Ren admittedly since they only have 1 villain, but that is still pretty impressive, and Kylo is like a baby Sith, you have to remember, so then with that faint respect that we just had is suddenly gone again, and her beating Palpatine feels like more of a plot armor moment than anything, as she doesn't really have a clever way of defeating him like throwing him into a reactor. She just kind of overpowers him because she's the main character. Our first pick for the power level of 5, where the characters are getting a little better, is Aegon Kohler, who was an Iridonian Zabrak Jedi that I put here because he's quickly killed by Palpatine, who arguably chose him first since he's the weakest link. However, he obviously didn't see this move coming, which means you can't get too mad at him for it. And also we see Aegon being pretty skilled at Geonosis against the battle droids, especially if he survived. And also at 5, I have some of the younger Jedi of the Imperial era like Ezra and Cal Kestis, who are both pretty tough admittedly for being trained without the Order, but still neither could get close to holding up to Vader on the different occasions that they fought him. Some of them I will base off of how good they are at fighting Vader, as that seems to be a pretty good system here, but they were still pretty powerful. So you'll notice I'm spending more time on the prequel era Jedi and less on the ones outside of it, and one reason for that is I just generally prefer talking about the Republic era Jedi, but I also feel like it's sometimes hard to compare some of these Jedi that are admittedly weak in comparison, but if they were given proper training would maybe be great. For the PL of 6 though, I have Depa Billapa, who was Mace Windu's Padawan, and Caleb Doom, or Kanan Jarrus's master, that perished on Kalar to her clone battalion led by Commander Grey, who mercilessly gunned her down. Also at this PL, I have Evan Peel, who was featured in the Citadel arc and proved to be very wise and creative in battle, but was sadly killed by an Anuba on Lolo Sayu after it bit and tossed the small Lonic Jedi around. Also in 6 is Yarael Poof, who was a wise Jedi serving on the Council during Anakin's discovery and died while saving Coruscant from the Infant of Shaw artifact in 27 BBY. And I must admit that it does feel pretty weird when I'm working on a random video and then one of the Jedis that I've made long videos about before just randomly comes up when I just randomly know everything about these guys now, like Yarael Poof. Also at level 6 is the Master and Apprentice Luminara Unduli and Barriss Offee, who both seem highly capable and skilled enough, while certainly not as flexible as the pair of Anakin and Ahsoka. Another victim of Order 66 to mention is Stas Ali, another Thalothian Jedi like her cousin Ali Gallia, who isn't shown in the Clone Wars as much, but is most likely more competent overall if she survived longer up until her death on her bark speeder, shot down by Commander Neo. And the last person for the level of 6 is Kanan Jarrus, who is one of my favorite Jedi, but the problem is that even though he seems pretty tough in the Imperial era, it turns out if we put him up against like General Grievous or Count Dooku, he really wouldn't last long at all, considering the fact that he couldn't even defeat Darth Vader with Ezra. So yeah, but Kanan is still pretty powerful, and I definitely thought he deserved to be a rank above Ezra. And you already know, it's that time in the video where I get way too many characters in one section and then go rapid fire through each one of them as to who sucks and who doesn't. Because with the Jedi, I might have bit off more than I could chew because there is just so many of them to mention here, but try not to shove a bunch of random lore in your face. Okay, so for level 7, we have Quinlan Voss, first of all, that went on many reconnaissance missions behind the enemy lines and stuff. He was in the Phantom Menace in the background. He was pretty good at spying, but he did fail to kill Count Dooku, which I guess is an L, but he's definitely one of the more tough ones. Also, he trained Aayla Secura, which is kind of surprising to me because to me he seems like he'd be the same age as her, but he's actually like, I guess, a lot older, so he has some respect to his name. Also, we have Oppo Rancisis, who was a Thespian Jedi with a really cool anatomy that basically made him extremely proficient in combat, and he could do things that no other Jedi could do due to his very cool anatomy, like I just said. And he was very skilled in lightsaber combat and was also one of the best Jedi in the entire council for Force meditation. So I'd honestly love to put this guy at like level 8 or so, but we just don't know enough about him to really put him that high. Also, we have Aayla Secura, who we do see a good bit in the movies and shows and stuff, but she's just a good in lightsaber combat, pretty wise, and knows what they're doing in battle and stuff, but also doesn't just go out and kill a bunch of people and stuff either. Also, we have Eeth Koth, who was a Jedi that actually went up against General Grievous at the Battle of Seleucami, and ki-adi-mundi, who died at the Battle of Ryloth after giving a very good last stand, I must say, and Kruk, who was a Wifid Jedi in Legends that was also in the 2003 Clone Wars show, and they actually thought he was dead there, but apparently he survived and then came back a lot later, which means that he is very powerful and durable and can survive a lot of stuff, and he just looks really cool in Legends. I mean, bro has a really good workout routine, I must say, so I gotta give him some points for that. And lastly, in 7, we have Luke Skywalker, who is a Imperial era Jedi, and if we were talking Legends Luke Skywalker, because I know a lot of people will be very angry right now, yes, I know Legends Luke is like 9, probably a 10, but I'm just looking at him from Return of the Jedi, where he is able to beat Vader and is pretty powerful, but also doesn't stand a chance against the Emperor, whereas some of the other Jedi here could at least put up a fight. Moving into the level of 8, we have Qui-Gon Jinn. Even though he's a little bit older, he can do great in a lightsaber fight. Yes, he will get tired, admittedly, after fighting against a Sith Lord, but Obi-Wan is just as good as Qui-Gon, if not better. He honestly proves himself to be better in that fight when he's young, but even when he's older, he can go up against General Grievous and Darth Vader very well. And Kenobi is basically just like the prime example of what a Jedi should be in every way, shape, and form. Next up, Ahsoka Tano, who I would definitely put at 7, would never consider putting her at an 8, but I would bump her up here just for her show. She gets extra points for that, I guess. Ahsoka's pretty powerful. She went up against Grievous, and yeah, she served under Anakin Skywalker, which gave her a lot of great skills and teachings that she probably kept with her for a long time, so she was also very powerful. Also, Pong Krell is here because he was able to hold his own against multiple different squads of clones on Umbara, and while you might not like him, he is definitely a very powerful Jedi. Ki-adi-mundi, Plo Koon, and Kit Fisto, who you have to believe how much I hate to just say those guys' names so quickly, because like, especially Plo Koon and Kit Fisto, my 2 favorite Jedi, so if anything, I'd spend half the video just talking about them, but for the better of the audience, those guys were just some of the best on the entire council, with Ki-adi-mundi being very old and wise, Plo Koon being a great patient Jedi that really cared about the clones, and then Kit Fisto was just insanely good in a lightsaber fight and held his own against Grievous for longer than pretty much any other Jedi, even Obi-Wan. And I think when it comes to background Jedi characters, I would say those 3 are in fact the best. Going to level 9, we have Anakin Skywalker and Mace Windu. So Anakin Skywalker was the chosen one, and if we were talking about Vader when he's still not burnt up and stuff, I'd give him a 10, I'd give him a 20. I mean, he's the chosen one, he's the most powerful character in Star Wars. The only reason Obi-Wan defeated him is because he had trained him and knew how to defeat him. But yeah, the only reason I put Anakin as a 9 here is because we're talking about Jedi. So this is at the beginning of Revenge of the Sith, where he is insanely powerful, but not a 10. And Mace Windu, I mean, you saw him in the 2003 Clone Wars, you've seen him beat Sidious with the Vape-Pad lightsaber style and using the dark side and everything. But that leaves us with level 10, the best of the best. Sorry, the end of the video is getting kind of rushed here, but I just gotta include all these people. We have Yoda. Yoda is insane. I think a lot of people actually don't really give Yoda credit where credit's due, because they'll kind of put Yoda and Mace Windu on the exact same level, and I definitely think Mace Windu is very close to Yoda. They're like the 2 most powerful, but the thing is, I do think Yoda is a good bit higher, because even in his old age, he still is better with a lightsaber and probably more skilled with the Force too. Definitely more skilled with the Force, I'd say. He just doesn't get to use it as much as Mace since he's not in the front lines. Just try and imagine Prime Yoda. I mean, that would just be insane. But anyway, that's it for this video. You can subscribe if you want to. I upload every Friday and sometimes on Sunday too at 5 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Also, I post shorts on Saturday, but before I finish the video, I just want to say thank you for a great summer. I know it's not quite over yet, but I do have school starting up soon, so videos will be going to about 1 a week instead of 2 a week, but I actually pre-made a couple videos this summer that will be coming out in about a month or less, so it shouldn't be too bad. You'll just notice less videos here, and yeah, big thanks for all the views and stuff. Really do appreciate it, but yeah, see ya.